Okay, we're back. It's InfoWars Nightly News. We're about to talk to our next guest on the economy. And we've got another guest on who's kind of an apologist for the congenital liars of the establishment. But I wanted to just talk about the report we covered last night. $79 trillion of Bank of America derivatives that they're about to have American taxpayers try to pay for and then lecture us all day about our debts. It's just incredible. So it's very important to realize that it's the ultra-rich waging war against the middle class, trying to con basically people that aren't aware of it. So we're going to be talking about Herman Cains' 9999 plan. Where does that extra 9 come in? And with more on the economy and this vital election, we're joined by the CEO of Euro-Pacific Capital, Peter Schiff. He's written an excellent article today that Infowars.com picked up, Business Insider, and many other sites. There's a hidden 9 in Herman Cains' 999 plan. Now, obviously, my criticism is we were always told by the fair taxers they would get rid of the income tax and bring in a sales tax or VAT. Herman wants both, and those 9s can become 15s, 20s, 30s, as they've done in Europe and England. But then there's also the FICA. They're not going to want to get rid of Social Security in there. They're going to keep 9999. But we'll find out the other hidden 9 that Peter Schiff is talking about here today. Peter, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on, Alex.
So you've written this article, but break it down. Where is the hidden 9 in Herman Cains' plan?
Well, the fourth 9 is the 9% payroll tax that is imposed through what is purported to be a 9% corporate income tax. It isn't a 9% corporate income tax. It actually is a gross receipts tax. And embedded in that gross receipts tax is a 9% tax on payrolls. And the only way for businesses to recoup that payroll tax is through their workforce. Now, granted, that represents a reduction of the 15.3% payroll tax that is already in place, where half of it is paid directly by the worker and the other half is paid indirectly by the worker through reduced wages. But the problem is Herman Cain is claiming that he completely gets rid of the payroll tax, that it no longer exists. That's not true. It's still there. It's just not as high. But the problem is the way Herman is selling his plan to the average worker is that he's going to get a reduction in taxes because he's going to have no payroll taxes, and he's going to pay just a 9% income tax and a 9% sales tax. If that were really the case, then pretty much all working Americans would get a tax cut under the Herman Cain plan. Of course, if you retired and they were going to get a tax hike. But if you account for the fourth 9, that's not the case. That's a game changer. What the fourth 9 means is that the majority of Americans under the 9999 plan are going to be paying 27% of their income in taxes, which is much higher than a lot of those people pay now. So the only way the plan works, the only way it's revenue neutral, is because you have big tax increases on the middle class and lower class to pay for tax cuts for higher income workers. Now, it is a pro-growth plan. We are going to get more economic growth out of this plan. We're going to get more jobs out of this plan because we're freeing up capital. We're treating capital a lot better. We're going to have more investments. We're going to have more savings. We're going to have more job creation. But we're going to have to pay for that by putting the bill on the middle class. Now, if we don't want to stick the middle class with a bill, then we need to cut government spending dramatically. But the government wants to pretend that we can have a growing economy, all this government spending, and stick the bill on the rich. It ain't going to work, because if we try to put the bill on the high income earners, then we're not going to get the economic growth and we're not going to get the jobs. We're just going to have a lot of government and a lot of unemployment.
Sure, Peter, let me interject here because this is important. I saw the Economic Policy Journal criticize you, why Peter Schiff and Arthur Laffer are wrong about Herman Cain 999, and it's got classic class warfare garbage about you just don't want rich people tax, but sales taxes, VAT taxes, from what I've researched, just basic economics, that always hits the poorest people. So this makes no sense.
Oh, yeah, and of course, the people that are hurt the most by taxes that discourage job creation are the people who are looking for jobs. So by keeping taxes high on the job creators, we're keeping a lot of people unemployed. They would be better to get a job and then pay some taxes than to be unemployed and pay no taxes. But, Art Laffer is applauding the 999 plan because he doesn't know about the hidden 9. See, I have a difference of opinion. I figured out that there's a fourth 9. Art Laffer doesn't even know that yet. But the thing is, I'm in favor of moving towards a tax structure where people are taxed based on what they spend, not based on what they earn. Now, the standard liberal argument is, well, that's not fair because the rich people don't spend everything like the poor people. They save some of their money. Well, precisely. We want them to save their money because when they save their money, they're delaying gratification for themselves. They're postponing their consumption into the future. When they eventually spend, they'll pay the taxes. But in the meantime, the money is used to grow the economy. It provides capital for businesses.
Sure.
Either the individual who's earning the money uses it to grow his own business, or he loans it out either through the banking system or directly to some other entrepreneur. So why would we want to take money that was going to be used to grow the economy and send it to Washington where it's going to use it to undermine the economy?
All right, Peter, let me expand on that because, I had read your excellent, there's a hidden 9 in Herman Cains plan today. I hadn't read this full article. Now I've actually had a chance. We were talking to scan over it a bit. And they're actually criticizing you in this, but they're saying you're endorsing his 9999 plan. But I follow you closely. I hadn't seen you endorse Cain's 999 plan.
Now, I haven't endorsed it, and I think it's a loser in the general election. If Cain gets the nomination with this 999 plan, it's going to come out that there's a fourth 9 in there. And, the public is going to reject it because they're not going to vote for higher taxes on themselves. But my whole point is it shows just how much of the tax burden the rich currently bear. I mean, if you're going to reduce the taxes on the upper income people so that it's the same as people that earn less money, you can't do that. So either you've got to massively cut government spending or you've got to raise taxes on the middle class in order to cut taxes on upper income earners.
But hold on, let me quantify this.
Taxes, we're not going to get growth.
Let me quantify this because I had a college student call me today and he said, you don't want to redistribute the wealth of the 1%. You're basically anti-American, but it wasn't reality-based. And so quantify that. You're explaining to people, if you cut the taxes on the rich, yeah, that would speed the economy up. But this plan actually increases it overall on the poor who aren't paying a lot of taxes right now. And that'll cause issues as well. That's what you're getting at, right?
But it's also increasing taxes on the middle class. Most people are going to get a tax hike under this plan. See, the real problem is government is too big. Government is too expensive. We have to cut government so that we don't have to raise taxes on anybody. In fact, if we cut enough government, we can lower taxes on everybody. But if we want all this government that we have now, it is very expensive. And we can't put the bill just on the rich because then the economy collapses. So if we want all this government, the truth is the middle class has got to pay for it. And people think that the rich are getting away with murder. Look, I'm paying about half my income in taxes right now. I don't know how much more I can take. Yeah, is it, they're trying to pretend that the rich are paying less in taxes than their secretaries. That's nonsense. And not only are the rich paying higher rates than their secretaries, but in absolute numbers, I mean, think about Warren Buffett. They're saying he's paying less rate than his secretary. They're saying Warren Buffett is paying 17%. Yeah, but he's paying like $10 million a year. I mean, his secretary might be paying a higher rate, but maybe she's only paying $10,000 versus his $10 million. But it's also a lie because Warren Buffett is the biggest shareholder of Berkshire Hathaway. He doesn't even take a salary. He works for free. So his income is Berkshire's income, and Berkshire Hathaway is paying 35% income tax. That's Warren's money. He's paying his taxes through Berkshire Hathaway.
Sure.
So not only is he paying a lot more in taxes than his secretary, but he's paying a higher rate. And anybody who says otherwise, including Warren Buffett, is lying.
Well, let's expand on that. Here in Texas, we have a stealth income tax. That's the franchise tax. I pay taxes on all the equipment, everything, and a percentage on my profits. And, I mean, it's taxes on top of taxes. So let me ask you this question. Why then do we see the ultra-rich, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, and others? I mean, I have my answer for it. Why do we see them promoting higher taxes?
Well, Warren Buffett, he actually benefits from the estate tax because a lot of businesses have to be sold because they can't survive the estate tax. And then Warren gets to buy them up on the cheap through Berkshire Hathaway. So he has an interest in breaking up a lot of these businesses, even though it's a destructive tax. On the income tax, I don't know. Maybe he just wants to be liked. It's a lot easier to be liked if you adopt these liberal agenda. It's more difficult to have to explain to people why just taxing the rich is a bad deal for the middle class and the poor. I was down at Occupy Wall Street yesterday. We've got a video coming out from Reason TV. It'll be on YouTube next week. But all these people, the majority of people who are there that are mad, they're all blaming the rich. They think the problems emanate from taxes. I had one person say the reason we had the Great Depression was because the rich weren't paying enough taxes. That all the problems are because the rich aren't paying enough taxes. And if we just jacked up the taxes on the rich, that everything would be better. I mean, people don't understand that the reason the rich are rich is because they created the middle class. They're the ones that figured out what to produce. They created the jobs. They created the products that they're paying their fair share just by getting rich. Anything they pay in taxes is just gravy.
Well, Peter,
yeah.
But if the young college students that call me on the radio and disagree with what I'm saying, with what you're saying, well, just look at history. Kennedy cut taxes in one bracket by 50%, the other 38%. Tax receipts the next year doubled. The ruling government class knows when you raise taxes, it always ends up destroying business and overall revenue down the line. So the question is, if this basic fact of economics is there, why then does the government class want it? The answer is control. You look at Warren Buffett, he knows that higher taxes on middle class and wealthy will be used in further banker bailouts of Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and others who invested in the derivatives. And I think in that lies the answer. You talked about him wanting to keep the estate tax to break up companies. That's it. The ultra rich, in many cases, have an incentive through government to use regulations and insider deals. Take General Electric, moving jobs offshore, getting tax exemptions, but then always calling for higher taxes on the general public. I mean, I think it's that crony capitalist element that's involved in all of this that's sicking the working class.
They want higher taxes on all the people who are actually paying the taxes. Meanwhile, they're not paying any because they can escape them. And when we talk about raising taxes, Obama wants to raise taxes on the rich, and he cites Warren Buffett, but he wants to raise my taxes, and I'm already paying a lot higher tax than what he believes Warren Buffett is. I'm already paying 50%, and he wants to raise it. What we need to do is look back at the 19th century. Look at how fast the U.S. economy grew. Look at the Industrial Revolution. Look at how much living standards rose percentage-wise without even all the technology we have today. We had much faster economic growth when nobody paid income taxes than we have today when everybody is paying all these income taxes.